This is the tale of Yuji Sano, a man whose mother is battling cancer. To pay for her treatment, Yuji takes on grueling work at a company, enduring exhausting days and nights, and just to save enough for her care. But time slips away, and despite his relentless efforts, he earns neither the money needed nor the chance to help his mother. Eventually, the burden of overwork claims his life. When Yuji next opens his eyes, he's in an unfamiliar world, reborn into a new existence. Almost immediately, a friendly slime appears and guides him to a secluded house filled with shelves of mysterious books. Out of curiosity, Yuji opens one, and to his shock, every skill within the pages flows directly into him. Not stopping there, Yuji times all the slimes present. These slimes begin devouring book after book, granting him an endless array of abilities. Before long, he earns a prestigious title, Sage. Eager to learn more about this strange realm, Yuji enrolls in a magical academy. His extraordinary abilities leave the instructors utterly astonished. One thing becomes clear: Yuji has grown unbelievably powerful in this new life. But he's not the only sage. Another is on the rise, a dark and dangerous rival whose sole ambition is to bring ruin to the entire world. That fateful clash is approaching fast. Today's chapter in Yuji's journey promises to be thrilling. So set aside a few minutes and immerse yourself in the adventure. You won't want to miss a moment. The anime starts with Uji Sanu unlocking his magic deep in the forest, where some slimes are just playing around. Suddenly, a monster appears out of nowhere and rushes at him, but Uji stays calm, and his fire-breathing wolf takes it down in seconds. Then, a strange glowing crystal shows up, filled with monsters inside. The scene quickly shifts to the Adventurers Guild in Faston, where a guy named Gil is getting laughed at for claiming he saw a slime that can use fire attacks. Right then, Uji walks in, and the room goes silent. Everyone notices a slime sitting calmly on his shoulder, and Julie, the guild receptionist, runs over, asking about a mission he supposedly gave up on. Uji takes the slime off and opens its mouth. In surprise, it's full of flowers. Everyone just stares, while he explains that he didn't abandon anything. He just had other tasks, and he finished them too. Julie rushes to get the guild chief, Ages, who shows up, sees the rare Daria flowers, and immediately offers to buy them all. Uji casually adds that he fought a monster while collecting them, which makes everyone even more curious. Suddenly, a messenger arrives, out of breath, saying there's a big problem. Uji calls his slimes to scout, and they report a huge group of monsters gathering in the forest and heading straight for them. Ages doesn't waste a second. He calls all the adventurers and warns them the attack will happen within the hour. Instead of fighting, he tells them to evacuate and survive, even if it means leaving the townspeople behind. Uji steps up, holding a dragon bone, and says he can reignite its flame with his power, but only once, and it's risky. Gale agrees to try it. While everyone prepares for the worst, Uji checks with his wolf to see if it can carry the slimes. Once it gives a nod, Uji boosts its speed, and the wolf takes off like lightning, while adventurers start grabbing their weapons. From up high, Uji watches as people fight using magic crystals, but monsters just keep coming. He declares he'll finish everything in 15 minutes. He uses magic to show his stats, and starts looking for a skill that can save them all. Then he spots a strange guy holding a magic crystal, the kind that could be behind the whole attack. Someone warns that touching the crystal might kill him, but Uji says he'll cast a barrier and go anyway. He tells his slimes to teleport. Now, the slimes appear around the guy, trap him in a glowing net, and Uji casts a protective field. Then he dispels the crystal, taking control back. Just like that, but something feels wrong. The slime says its usual line, "Bring that guy to me," but this time it feels off. Suddenly, the man kills himself on the spot. Meanwhile, though, the adventurers keep fighting, and they're barely holding on until Uji's slimes return and shock everyone by launching fire attacks at the monsters. Fired up, Uji scans the area and sees monsters all over the town. He decides to expand the spell's reach to outside the town walls and tells everyone to get inside right away. Ages orders them all to take shelter, but Gale and his friend are still fighting, refusing to back down, even as others call for them to retreat. Then, out of nowhere, Uji's wolf dashes in, beats the monster, and saves them both. Now, Uji creates a huge barrier around the town and casts a powerful flame spell that burns up many monsters outside, but the effort leaves him weak, and he sees that a few enemies still remain. He's hurt badly, but he uses a spell called Health Fire, despite Lily begging him not to use more magic. The scene fades to Uji resting in bed, with Lily bringing him food. Meanwhile, Ages and his group explore the forest and discover a lantern containing the magic crystal that caused everything. Back with Uji, he's talking with Lily when he hears someone urgently calling for him from outside. Next scene, it's a party. Everyone is thanking him, cheering, and smiling. Uji thinks back to all the time he wasted on meaningless tasks, and now, finally, he feels like it was worth it. The story returns to the present, where Lily is looking for him again, but he's already gone, off with his wolf and his slimes. The next morning, Aegis tells Lily about their findings in the forest, while Uji quietly listens nearby. And finally, Uji arrives in a brand new town, ready for his next journey. Uji arrives in a new town, where his slimes immediately draw attention by begging for food, eventually leading him to a butcher shop. Just then, a doorbell chimes, signaling the arrival of a high priest, causing the townsfolk to hurry toward the church. Afterward, Uji heads to the Adventurers Guild, where a receptionist instantly recognizes him. Without delay, she finalizes his registration, allowing him to join on the spot without any questions. Not long after becoming a member, Uji is approached by three newcomers: Rodus, a skilled dagger user; Tina, a sharp-eyed archer; and Lisa, a talented lancer, who invite him to join their party. Uji introduces himself as a tamer and admits this is his very first time at the guild. The group discusses an upcoming mission that will require Uji's tracking expertise. During their conversation, a rumor surfaces about Rodus's previous party mysteriously vanishing, but Rodus quickly dismisses it. The team soon gathers in a dense jungle for their task, investigating the whereabouts of an earth dragon. Tina warns them that the creature is far too dangerous to confront. They split up to handle their duties, with Uji assigned to watch for enemies. Using his wolf scout, Uji learns of wolf-like monsters nearby, startling the team. Rodus decides they should investigate, and as they move forward, they confirm Uji's warning to be true. Rodus praises Uji's sharp tracking skills and engages the monsters alone, astonishing Uji with his strength. Later that night, the party rests while sharing a meal. Uji introduces his loyal slimes, who express their joy in their own way. Uji then explains his unique tracking ability, revealing that he taught himself without any mentor. The night ends with the team deciding to rest, while Tina and another member take turns keeping watch. As Uji reflects on Rodus's leadership, the story shifts to a flashback. Uji's arrival in this new world, where he became a tamer. He first befriended a slime who became his companion, then stumbled upon a house filled with books. Through reading, Uji discovered he could learn magic and even taught his slimes to do the same. Eventually, he unlocked the Sage skill, granting him the ability to understand the slime's language. The scene then returns to the present. Back in the present, Uji hears from his slime that Rodus is fleeing, chased by two girls, a wolf, and several others. Lisa suggests asking Uji for help, but Tina doubts he has the strength to handle such a fight. However, Uji overhears this conversation through his slime. Rodus, sensing someone nearby, throws a dagger, only to discover a slime in the area. While escaping, Rodus takes refuge in a hidden spot where an old man is seen once. Secretly listening, Uji pieces together the truth about the old parties and realizes that the girls chasing Rodus will soon fall into a trap. He urges immediate action, warning that time is short and noting that the blue moon of salvation will only appear when the moon turns blue. Meanwhile, Tina and Lisa move forward, but consider returning for Uji's help again. Suddenly, they spring a trap and come face to face with a fearsome monster. Uji rushes to assess the situation and comes up with a simple but devastating plan. He commands his slimes into action, then uses range forest to gather every enemy in one place. Tina and Lisa watch in awe, convinced the slimes did all the work. During the battle, Tina spots an old man named Gallius, who carries a massive bounty. They debate whether to return to town after losing a comrade, but Uji reassures them, confident that his slimes can handle the threat. The party eventually returns to camp, where Tina and Lisa drift off to sleep. Uji, however, stays awake, deep in thought, wondering if the previous town attack is connected to the mysterious blue moon of salvation. The group sets out to search for the Earth Dragon, but comes up empty-handed. Suddenly, powerful and unusual winds sweep across the area, immediately catching Uji's attention. Lisa explains that these winds originate from the nearby mountains, which is why the region is called the Valley of the Wind. The party speculates that the Earth Dragon might be hiding deep within the valley, but Uji firmly refuses to enter, despite the girls urging him to reconsider. The scene then shifts to the past, where Uji is shown undergoing a magical trial. During the test, he showcases his fire magic by shattering a massive stone, astonishing the instructor. Although he's reprimanded for casting magic without chanting, Uji silences any doubts by hurling another powerful fireball, breaking the stone to pieces. Back in the present, the group begins to feel uneasy when they notice that the monsters expected in the area are nowhere to be found. Uji calmly assures them that his slimes have already dealt with all the threats, though this only heightens the girls' worries. Suddenly, the sky darkens and turns an ominous violet, but Uji denies having anything to do with it. His slimes confirm that no monsters are present, signaling something far stranger at play. Elsewhere, two men watch the event unfold. One of them mutters that disasters always happen beneath the blue moon. Just then, a bright light pierces through the sky. Outside, the clouds part, and a fearsome creature, an ancient monster from the fabled Book of Legend, emerges in the forest. Tina and Lisa are stunned, but Yuji calmly explains that this dragon is even stronger than the Earth Dragon. Lisa suggests retreating to the Delight Cannon area, where the powerful winds keep monsters at bay. As they advance, Yuji's slimes effortlessly eliminate any remaining monsters. The group resolves to report their findings to their master. Along the way, they discover that every monster in their path has already been wiped out by Yuji's slimes. When a dangerous beast suddenly charges at Yuji's wool, one of his slimes unleashes a burst of fire magic, destroying it instantly and clearing the path. Without warning, the ground trembles violently, and the Earth Dragon itself bursts forth, terrifying Tina and Lisa. Yuji, however, remains calm and retaliates by hurling rocks, though the attack proves useless. The dragon counters with devastating cannonball-like blasts, forcing Yuji to dodge, while commanding his slimes to strike back. When fierce mountain winds surge through the valley, Yuji seizes the moment and launches a decisive final assault, ultimately bringing the mighty Earth Dragon down. The girls breathe a sigh of relief, convinced that Yuji's quick thinking saved their lives. The party celebrates their hard-earned victory, which also secured them a hefty reward. To prove their triumph, Yuji reveals the Earth Dragon's skull, retrieved by one of his slimes. Soon after, Riyadh arrives and joins the discussion, proposing their next target, the Blue Dragon. They seek Yuji's assistance, and in response, he conjures an image of the creature using magic, leaving everyone in awe. An elder then steps forward, noting that a similar dragon is mentioned in an old book, though several key pages are missing, making it impossible to fully understand the threat. The text claims that the Blue Dragon is powerful enough to obliterate an entire continent in just 3 days, a fact the group struggles to believe. Riyadh asks how they can possibly defeat such a monster, only to learn that a divine figure possessing extraordinary powers is said to be the only one capable of stopping it. However, Riyadh worries there isn't enough time to locate this person. A flashback reveals a ceremony from 30 years ago in the capital, a spirit summoning ritual that unleashed a destructive entity which has now manifested as the Blue Dragon. The elder explains this grim truth, while Yuji warns that the dragon continues to grow stronger with every passing moment. The group, though shaken, refuses to stand idle. They resolve to launch their assault at dawn. That night, Yuji is seen sharing a meal with his slimes when Tina and Lisa arrive, declaring their intention to join the battle in hopes of earning a massive reward. Before the fight, the elder presents Yuji with a dagger from the capital, claiming it might prove useful in the coming confrontation. As Yuji reflects on the danger ahead and the lives at stake, a deafening explosion shakes the ground, signaling the Blue Dragon's increasing power. In that moment, Yuji recalls his instructor's words about his strength, and with renewed determination, he prepares for the greatest battle yet. Yuji mounts his wolf to keep watch on the dragon, ordering his slimes to retreat and prepare for their assault. Their initial strike fails, and the furious dragon counterattacks, but Yuji's protective barrier saves him from harm. The dragon then begins drawing in magical energy from the surrounding forest, causing its size to increase. Determined, Yuji takes out the dagger given to him by father, planning to channel his magic into it for a decisive blow. As Yuji and his allies descend toward the beast, the dragon spots them, but Yuji casts a shield and commands his slimes to form a barrier while activating his magic jump boost, allowing him to leap in close. With a swift strike, Yuji drives the dagger into the dragon's eye, unleashing a massive explosion that appears to bring the creature down, but the dragon lashes out with its tail, and Yuji narrowly survives, saved only by his barrier. The dragon launches another relentless assault, forcing Yuji to defend continuously. Searching desperately for a finishing spell, Yuji discovers Divine Strike, which blasts the dragon with immense power, leaving it howling in pain and collapsing. Although still breathing, Yuji climbs onto its neck, plunges the dagger deep, and uses Hellfire and Demise, finally ending the beast's life. Exhausted, Yuji rests in peace after the intense battle. The next day, Reincarnated arrives and asks where Yuji had been the previous night. Yuji reveals that the dark clouds have vanished, the sky has cleared, and the Blue Dragon has been slain, a fact he learned through father's divine guidance, but had kept secret. Yuji sits with two companions who explain that since the dragon is gone, their team is disbanded and they are unsure of what to do next. Yuji considers relocating to another town and is advised to head to Ricardo, known for its excellent food. After bidding them farewell, Yuji ventures into the forest, where Dread calls out to him. Dread is busy collecting different mushrooms, explaining their magical properties. Red dragon mushrooms for crafting sage potions and blue mushrooms for rapid healing. Yuji offers to help her gather them. While brewing the potion, it unexpectedly turns red instead of blue. To correct it, they use crystal clear water created by Yuji's magic. As they work, Dread recalls their first meeting in a flashback. Yuji had found her injured near a tree and healed her with his magic. Dread explained that a nearby magic stone had drained all her energy. When Yuji dispelled the stone's magic, monsters emerged from it, but he trapped them inside a barrier, leading to the start of their friendship. Returning to the present, Yuji asks why the potion looks similar to a magic stone. Dread explains that the potion has transformed into dragon grease, a dangerous substance if misused. She then purifies it using Yuji's crystal clear water, restoring it to its proper blue form, and leaves the potions with Yuji. Continuing their journey, Yuji and his companions proceed through the forest. When Wolf detects the scent of humans, they soon find themselves surrounded by thick, unsettling fog and notice eerie villagers smiling strangely. A man approaches Yuji, warning that traveling in the fog is dangerous, and invites him to stay overnight. Yuji declines, but accepts a meal. At the table, he politely refuses the food, explaining he must continue his journey. When asked why he came to their small village, Yuji clarifies that he was headed to Ricardo, not the village of Macius, leaving the locals puzzled. Elsewhere, a man speaks into a crystal ball, assuring someone that preparations are nearly complete, despite the unexpected adventurer who has already departed. He mentions plans to harvest the dragon craze soon. Meanwhile, Yuji passes through the fog and is stunned to discover everything blanketed in snow. Yuji arrives in Ricardo village and immediately notices the intense cold that has gripped the area and the nearby settlements. A guard informs him that the temperature has been dropping steadily for the past 10 days, forcing the villagers to burn through all their firewood just to survive. As Yuji explores, he finds the streets nearly empty, with snow and ice covering everything. He tries to get a meal from a local shop, but it's closed because of the extreme weather. Though disappointed, Yuji refuses to leave hungry and offers to help gather firewood. However, a villager explains that freshly cut wood creates too much smoke and needs to dry for almost a year before it can be used. Determined to help, Yuji heads into the forest to find proper firewood. Since no one in the village seems to know the best kind of wood for burning, he relies on his magic and combat skills, quickly cutting down the necessary trees. Yuji then commands his slimes to extract the moisture from the wood, drastically reducing the drying time. When he returns with the prepared firewood, the village chefs complain it's too dry for cooking. Without hesitation, Yuji uses his slime's magic to add just the right amount of moisture, making it perfect for the kitchen. The chefs are astonished by the quality of the firewood and praise Yuji's ingenuity. When they ask how he managed it, Yuji explains how he and his slimes work together, even showing them the massive pile of wood stored inside one slime's mouth. Although the chefs find it hard to believe, Yuji reassures them while helping to prepare a meal. When the food is finally ready, Yuji savors every bite, enjoying it alongside his slimes. He even mentions another dish, a hearty stew, though it takes longer to cook. Realizing that the village is facing a serious firewood shortage, Yuji decides to join the Adventurers Guild. He quickly notices that nearly all the posted requests involve gathering wood. Accepting his first job, he's told by a guild receptionist that he needs to meet the firewood supervisor, Wood, who lives in the eastern part of the region. Upon meeting Wood, Yuji learns that not only Ricardo, but also neighboring villages are struggling to keep up with firewood demand. Wood also mentions that the nearby village of Messies has been abandoned, which surprises Yuji since he thought he saw signs of activity there. Yuji wastes no time and begins his work, felling dozens of trees in record time, leaving the onlookers stunned. He then has his slimes drain the moisture from the timber, turning it into high-quality firewood. The guild members are amazed by how efficiently he transports the massive loads using his slimes. Yuji casually mentions that he has even more wood, but nowhere to store it, so he keeps working outside to gather additional supplies. His efforts impress Woodka and the guild receptionist, who can hardly believe he accomplished it all alone. After finishing his work, Yuji returns to a local eatery where the chef treats him to Ricardo's signature dish, Rishia herb stew. Yuji praises the meal enthusiastically. The chef mentions he could make even better food if only monsters hadn't destroyed most of their herb supplies. Curious, Yuji asks about the local monsters plaguing the area. While Yuji takes a short rest inside a small room, his slimes patrol the surrounding field, fields. Eventually, they track down a wild boar, and Yuji finishes it off with a precise fireball. After defeating 50 monsters, he and his slimes uncover a strange object radiating magical energy. Dret, one of his companions, remarks on its unusual aura. Upon closer inspection, Yuji realizes the object is a dragon crest, capable of draining magical energy and potentially responsible for the falling temperatures. Dret confirms that such a phenomenon could be caused by the crest's power. Yuji immediately dispels the curse and orders his slimes to search the area for more of these crystal-like objects. He soon learns there are 108 dragon crests distributed evenly throughout the region. Sensing something unnatural, Yuji notices a massive tree suspiciously placed as poor camouflage. When Dret asks Yuji what he plans to do, Yuji calmly declares that he'll destroy the entire forest if necessary. With that, he unleashes a devastating magical blast, revealing a deep pit with a hidden door buried beneath it. Yuji, accompanied by his slimes, approaches the door revealed by his earlier blast and instructs Dret to return safely to the forest. Stepping inside, Yuji finds a massive machine and wonders how such advanced technology could exist in this world. With curiosity driving him forward, he ventures deeper. Inside, Yuji discovers numerous crystals, suspecting that they are the origin of the magic stones. Suddenly, a group of men arrives, dismissing the crystals as worthless and deciding to report their findings to Javier, the mastermind behind the creation of these stones. Yuji quietly listens while using magic to cloak his slimes in invisibility. He then sends his slimes to tail the men. They are led to a dead-end room where the men mysteriously vanish. Investigating further, the slimes find two hidden levers. When pressed simultaneously, a secret door opens, revealing a ladder. The slimes climb up first, followed by Yuji. At the top, they emerge in a familiar location, the village of Mazius. Meanwhile, the two men reach their leader, Javier, and report the destruction of one of their cursed sites, caused by a massive explosion. They debate who could have been responsible. Javier, angered by the news, confirms that their magic infusion system has been damaged. Yuji overhears Javier discussing a large cursed well that was destroyed and concludes that he's been identified as the enemy. Javier orders his men to recover every cursed stone scattered in the forest. When one of his subordinates warns that moving in a group will draw attention, Javier simply commands them to eliminate any intruders on site. Realizing the danger, Yuji instructs his slimes to spread out within a 1-kilometer radius of the village and begins setting up magical circles. Soon, the slimes confirm the task is complete, as Javier orders his men to gather the cursed stones before abandoning the village. Yuji has some of his slimes infiltrate a building filled with books. He commands them to store every piece of information they find. Elsewhere, two of Javier's men search the forest for cursed stones but are captured by Yuji's magical net. Unfortunately, they commit suicide by uttering a spell before they can be interrogated. Meanwhile, Yuji's slimes report a sealed door with no visible mechanism to open it. Analyzing the situation, Yuji deduces that the candles around the room are the key. He commands the slimes to position themselves near each candle, then extinguishes them with magic, unlocking the hidden door. Inside, Yuji discovers a room overflowing with gold and a single skeleton, leaving him momentarily stunned. Suddenly, his slimes alert him that someone is approaching. A girl enters and is horrified to find the gold missing. Word reaches Javier, who erupts in fury. Preparing for battle, Yuji readies his hellfire spell. Inside the enemy hideout, one of Javier's men complains about their missing scouts. Javier suspects they've been eliminated, and another warns that if they are all killed, the cleansing flame will be unleashed, powerful enough to burn the world itself. Yuji listens in silence, now fully understanding the catastrophic risk. Javier, determined to retaliate, orders his men to draw daggers and slit their own throats. Their sacrifice triggers a violent reaction in the cleansing flame, causing the ground to quake. Yuji immediately commands his slimes to retreat while erecting 3 layers of magical barriers around the village. The cleansing flame erupts with devastating power, obliterating everything in its path. Yuji quickly realizes his barriers won't hold for long. As the destructive force intensifies, Yuji summons a new defensive spell, the Total Isolation Array, to shield the village. His strength drains rapidly, his health dropping with every passing moment, but he endures. A massive explosion follows, yet Yuji successfully protects everyone. Afterwards, Yuji returns to Ricardo, where others ask if he heard the explosion. He calmly denies it, explaining instead that the blast melted all the snow in the area, leading to clear skies. The next morning brings pleasant weather. Yuji visits a home where some village elders, grateful for his efforts, prepare him a special meal. After eating, Yuji unexpectedly collapses, alarming the elders. When he regains consciousness in bed, he praises the food before examining several documents he brought with him. To his surprise, the text on most of them has mysteriously vanished, likely erased by magic, except for one document that remains intact, containing a list of names. Yuji suspects these names are linked to the Blue Moon of Salvation. Meanwhile, in a distant castle, a girl ruthlessly slaughters several men. Nearby, another man unrolls a scroll, reads Yuji's name, and smiles with sinister intent. The two discuss their mission to track down Yuji, with the girl insisting that if he ever becomes a threat, she'll personally eliminate him. Meanwhile, Yuji wanders through the forest, contemplating his next move, fully aware that the townspeople have already learned of his powers. He visits the Adventure Guild to seek advice, where a receptionist recommends that he head to Boginia, a town famous for monster-forged armor, and mentions an artisan named Geigel who could help him. Back in the forest, Yuji's slime companions alert him that someone is tailing them. Not far away, two men secretly watch Yuji, with one ninja declaring that if necessary, he will personally kill Yuji. The scene shifts to the two stalkers, where the man plans to strike Yuji down, but the girl warns him against acting recklessly and even threatens to kill him if he disobeys. The guild suspects the pair, revealing that the girl is an assassin while the man is a twin blade wielder, both extremely dangerous. Yuji uses his slime's ability to eavesdrop on their conversation. Though tempted to eliminate them, he restrains himself, realizing it's better to gather more information. Arriving in Boginia, Yuji notices that the two followers are still shadowing him. The twin blade wielder uses his skills to spy on him, while Yuji browses armor, carefully checking prices. Disheartened upon learning he can't afford the equipment, Yuji sits down in frustration. He accidentally bumps into someone and politely apologizes, surprising his stalkers, who question whether he's truly dangerous. Later, Yuji uses his slime to search for hidden treasure in an empty spot, leading the two spies to wonder if he's actually that poor. Yuji then drinks quietly at a bar and falls asleep, prompting the twin blade wielder to question if Yuji is even the right target. Despite their doubts, they continue tailing him. Realizing his ruse might fail, Yuji decides to change tactics by entering the guild and requesting to challenge Rushby, with the stalkers closely observing his every move. Yuji faces Rush but bans the use of offensive magic, wanting to avoid suspicion. His wolf companion questions how he intends to win without fighting directly. Yuji reminds the wolf that he's a tamer and fully understands taming battles. He sends his wolf into combat, and though it initially struggles, it eventually overpowers several bulls with pride. A flashback reveals how Yuji first met the wolf. Yuji had captured it using a magical net as it attempted to attack. Instead of killing it, Yuji communicated with it through monster telepathy. The wolf pleaded for its life and asked to join Yuji's team, to which he agreed. Back in the present, Yuji's wolf defeats multiple enhanced bulls using magic, but begins to tire, leading the onlookers to underestimate its power. Despite this, the wolf fights with sheer determination and finally takes down all remaining opponents. When one bull regains consciousness and charges at Yuji, he swiftly slays it with his sword, shocking everyone. The twin blade wielder questions if Yuji is truly a threat, but the assassin dismisses him as nothing more than a weak tamer. They decide to report Yuji's supposed weakness and move on to their next target, unaware that Yuji has overheard every word. The story then shifts to a mysterious crystal chamber where several figures discuss the destruction of the village of Messias and the use of a cleansing flame. Two individuals are assigned a mission to assassinate Father's Day. Yuji, having overheard this, immediately uses magic to summon his allies. The following morning, Yuji searches for armor for his slime, but is told that only Geigel has the skill to craft it. At first, Geigel refuses, but upon witnessing the strength of Yuji's slime, he apologizes and agrees to make the armor. Meanwhile, in a distant volcanic region, a terrifying dragon is revealed, foreshadowing the dangerous trials yet to come. Geigel tells Yuji that while he can craft armor for his allies, he currently lacks the rare materials required to create truly powerful equipment. He shows Yuji a jewel obtained after slaying a laser fire dragon, but explains it's still not strong enough. Geigel then mentions an even rarer species, the blue laser fire dragon, and promises to forge exceptional armor if Yuji can retrieve its jewel. However, he warns that locating this dragon will be extremely difficult. Intrigued, Yuji asks where these dragons live. The scene shifts to the guild, where discussions reveal that laser fire dragons are immune to most magic. Yuji accepts a quest to hunt them. The guild receptionist cautions him about the dragon's overwhelming strength, but informs him that water magic is especially effective against them. Confident in his water magic abilities, Yuji prepares for the journey, but must first cross a river infested with deadly man-eating piranhas to reach the mountains where the dragons dwell. Yuji and his slimes arrive at the volcanic region, accompanied by a fire slime, and prepare to cross the dangerous river. Using his magic, Yuji creates a net-like structure to move safely through the water. As they proceed, a red slime disappears, into an underwater hole, forcing Yuji and the others to search for it. When piranhas attack, Yuji swiftly burns them with fire magic, clearing the way forward. Once across, they finally encounter the laser fire dragons, and Yuji commands his slimes to engage in battle. Yuji unleashes powerful water cannons, slaying one dragon and retrieving a jewel from its corpse, which lifts his team's morale. His slimes continue fighting and defeating the dragons, but soon, a much stronger blue laser fire dragon appears. Its scales resist every attack. Determined, Yuji amplifies his strength tenfold and uses his range forest technique, ultimately defeating the blue dragon and securing its jewel. After eliminating 202 laser fire dragons and the piranhas, Yuji returns to the guild with his collection of jewels. The receptionist is astonished by his accomplishments. Yuji explains that the piranhas were hidden deep underwater rather than near the surface. The receptionist reveals she had been conducting research on monster behavior to ensure public safety. Yuji then meets Giggle and hands over the jewel. Shocked by Yuji's power, Giggle agrees to forge armor for Yuji's wolf and offers him guidance. Once the armor for Slam and Wolf is completed, they begin testing it. Wolf exhibits the ability to communicate with the wind, while Slam's speed increases dramatically. Curious, Giggle asks if the armor can withstand a magic boost. They test it, and the armor's speed enhancement improves significantly. They then perform another test with ice magic, filling the area with frost, leaving everyone stunned. Yuji urges them to keep these results secret. Yuji wonders if the armor would break under even stronger magic. He explains that the best armor so far was crafted using the blue laser fire dragon's jewel, but suggests that a fire dragon's jewel could create something even greater. Giggle explains that the fire dragon lives deep inside a volcano and is so dangerous that no one has ever managed to hit it with water. Yuji speculates that water might actually be the dragon's weakness. Suddenly, alarming news arrives. All laser fire dragons have gone berserk, acting just like the corrupted monsters inside the fortress. Yuji instructs Wolf and Slam to quickly scout the area near the volcano and report any suspicious activity. Upon arriving, they spot two unfamiliar figures acting strangely and relay the information to Yuji. Just then, Yuji's room begins to tremble, and he watches as the volcano bursts into flames. From within the blaze, the furious fire dragon emerges. Yuji checks in with Wolf and Slam, who confirm they're unharmed. He then asks if they recognize the two individuals approaching the volcano. Meanwhile, the strangers discuss a dangerous mission they believe is simple, ignoring warnings from Darian's group. Yuji observes the pair carrying barrels toward the volcano. He attempts to snare them using a magic net, but they narrowly escape. One of the men brushes it off, thinking it was a monster trap, and feels lucky to have avoided it. Yuji attempts another surprise attack, but the two evade again, retaliating by throwing a sword at Slam, revealing his location. Recognizing their strength, Yuji still presses forward and manages to trap them with a second magical net. The barrels they were carrying fall and shatter, showing their plan has failed. The scene transitions to mysterious chanting connected to the blue moon of salvation, revealing that these individuals are tied to the phenomenon. Yuji directs his team to examine the broken barrels and discovers they contain a strange magical liquid resembling a diluted magic stone. Dread arrives and confirms the contents are a type of enchanted water, not as potent as a magic stone, but capable of disturbing the fire dragon's mind. Yuji uses his magic to purify the water. Suddenly, furious laser fire dragons appear, a sign that danger is near. A nearby man urgently warns Yuji to evacuate, saying rain is on its way, an ominous sign as fire dragons never awaken when it rains. Yuji recalls an event from 50 years ago when rain triggered a fire dragon rampage. As townspeople prepare to evacuate, Yuji realizes he must act quickly to avoid disaster. He decides to use the nearby river to help stop the dragons and receives crucial intel from his wolf companion. Yuji spots the fire dragon entering the river, its intense heat killing fish on contact, turning the water almost molten. Despite the river, the dragon crosses effortlessly, forcing Yuji to prepare for combat. Wolf, now armored, charges into battle. Yuji attempts to freeze the dragon's foot with magic, but it fails. Determined, he considers amplifying his magical power tenfold. Even with enhanced power, Yuji's attacks have little effect. The fire dragon unleashes a massive fire blast toward innocent villagers. Yuji struggles to block the attack. As the dragon steps back into the river, Yuji signals his slime allies. They drop their barrier, flooding the dragon with a torrent of water. The creature sinks beneath the surface, appearing unconscious until its eyes snap open, showing showing it's far from defeated. Yuji quickly shields the town from another oncoming blast. He then unleashes his Permafrost curse, a powerful spell that finally overwhelms and shatters the dragon to the excitement of his slime companions. Though victorious, Yuji is left physically drained. Later, Yuji visits Giggle and hands over the dragon jewel, requesting that it be forged into strong armor. Giggle praises Yuji's efforts. At the Adventurers Guild, Yuji asks about a mysterious town known for its secrecy and hostility toward outsiders. He also presents a strange device, which the receptionist identifies as a guild-issued rainmaker used to summon rain in dry seasons. Oddly, this one lacks any guild marking. Meanwhile, Giggle begins forging powerful armor for Yuji's slime using the dragon jewel, warning that it's highly dangerous and must be used carefully. Elsewhere, a man prays for divine strength, and glowing light surrounds his hands, signifying his prayer has been answered. The story picks back up with Yuji arriving in Ordine Town, where members of the local guild eye him with suspicion, trying to act as though nothing is amiss. Yuji leaves the area, unintentionally forgetting his slime companion behind. The slime overhears a hushed conversation, revealing that Yuji has become a target, though the guild's headquarters officially considers him harmless. The conspirators distrust the assassins sent after Yuji, preferring to deal with the matter themselves to avoid suspicion that the Blue Moon of Salvation is planning a takeover. The schemers discuss passing vital information to a man named Walter, debating whether their hired killers can be relied upon. Curious, Yuji wonders who Walter is when Father Steele suddenly appears and escorts him to the church. There, Yuji reports that the Blue Moon of Salvation has already seized control of the guild. Father Steele agrees and promises to explain a piece of the past involving both Yuji and Walter, hinting at a connection to an older group. The narrator shifts to recount the history of the Church of Blue Moon, which he once helped lead. Over time, the homeless and destitute, Walter among them, joined the congregation, but Walter's motives differed. He sought to liberate everyone from sin and suffering, enforcing rigid rules that his followers obeyed without question. At one point, the being known as Divine advised the narrator to dissolve the church, but he refused. Eventually, Walter launched a brutal assault, killing many members. The narrator emphasizes Walter's unsettling and dangerous nature. Walter's ideology revolves around freeing all from pain and sin, his followers bound to his strict doctrine. The narrator shares this with Yuji, who is stunned to learn that the man before him was the founder of the Church of Blue Moon. At that moment, Steele appears with a book, telling Yuji he has received a divine message, warning that Walter intends to destroy everything. Steele reveals that Yuji possesses a rare dagger, one that only a person chosen by God can wield, hinting that Yuji may be that chosen one. Steele explains that Walter aims to bring ruin to all, but only the chosen can save the world. Though Yuji now holds the dagger, Steele withholds part of the truth from him. Meanwhile, Walter is informed by a subordinate that their suspicions were correct. Steele has been meeting with Ordarians in MCD Town. Walter prays for guidance and receives a glowing sign, along with a divine voice instructing him to kill Steele. Unable to locate Father Steele directly, Yuji uses his slime to track him and learns he was last seen in the forest. There, Steele and Johann stand before a cursed tree. Using a glowing pendant, Steele breaks the curse, unveiling a hidden base belonging to Walter. Their presence is detected, and attackers rush in. Steele reacts swiftly, enchanting Johann for defense. Yuji arrives soon after, using a powerful dispelling spell to cleanse curses in the surrounding area. Steele then comes face to face with Walter, who remarks on Steele acting on the divine message. They discuss the portion of that message Steele never shared with Yuji, accepting that his own death might bring resolution. Steele braces himself. Walter's followers charge, but Steele fends them off effortlessly, his strength clearly greater than before. The tide turns when Johann shocks Steele with a surge of electricity, immobilizing him. Walter explains their troubles began when they placed a cursed magic stone in the forest, which was later purified by someone. He has been trying to eliminate that person ever since, but luck and strength have kept them alive. Walter realizes that person is none other than Yuji Sano, the so-called useless tamer. Johann confirms Yuji was the one who handed over the dagger that helped kill the ancient dragon. Both men voice their frustration at Yuji's repeated interference. Steele admits he always knew Yuji's true strength and warns that Yuji will eventually destroy them all. Walter's grand plan reaches its critical moment with success seemingly within grasp. The dead rise again, animated by a curse Walter had cast. Walter orders Johann to end Steele's life, and Steele accepts his fate. But before the killing blow can land, Yuji Sano steps into the scene. Yuji raises a shimmering magical barrier just in time, shielding himself from Johan's searing fireball and pulling Steel out of harm's way. Walter's eyes narrow in recognition, a twisted smile spreading as he greets Yuji with mock delight at his arrival. Walter thanks Stale for unknowingly leading Yuji straight to him and vows to kill them both as his cursed beasts close in. Yuji hurls a volley of fireballs to drive the creatures back, but during the chaos, Walter slips away with Johan. A sudden, deep rumble shakes the ground as Walter activates a sinister device, triggering a grotesque transformation that leaves Yuji and Stale momentarily frozen in shock. Walter's body mutates into a massive dragon-like form, pulsing with raw power. He unleashes a flurry of savage blows, but Yuji holds his ground with layered barriers and explosive counter-strikes. Walter dodges skillfully, yet Yuji refuses to relent. Coordinated magical slams seem to connect, though Walter remains unharmed. Yuji and his slimes swiftly equip enchanted armor, amplifying their strength and speed. Proud Wolf dashes in from behind, striking Walter to create an opening. Yuji seizes the moment, launching a concentrated fireball that sends Walter staggering. Though badly damaged, Walter drains energy from a nearby cursed beast, rapidly regenerating and growing stronger. Yuji senses a dangerous surge of power gathering. Walter's form mutates further, sprouting 4 arms and radiating an aura of unstoppable force. Yuji's spells continue to cut into him, but his regeneration is instantaneous. With arrogant certainty, Walter declares himself beyond harm. Realizing Walter is a cursed being, Yuji plans to use his slimes to immobilize the monster's legs. Furious, Walter rains down colossal punches. Yuji's barrier buckles under the assault, and at the breaking point, he conjures a magical net, trapping Walter and inflicting deep wounds. Onlookers think the battle is over, but Walter clings to life long enough to utter an incomprehensible phrase. Then, a hidden machine erupts with cursed energy, draining magic from everyone present, including Johan. Yuji and Stale can only watch as a blinding light pierces the sky, revealing a man who calls himself the Sage returned. Stale hurriedly explains the Sage's tragic history. Once a hero who faced the Emsari fire dragon and fell in defeat, Walter had resurrected him through a forbidden ritual. Without warning, the Sage strikes at Yuji with a devastating attack, forcing him to evade. The battle spills into the skies, where Yuji and the Sage trade rapid, devastating blows. Yuji orders his slimes to attack with fire, but the Sage shrugs it off, wondering how the Sage can wield both hellfire and decimation. Yuji gathers his slimes for a frost assault magnified tenfold, freezing the Sage solid, only for the icy prison to shatter moments later. Yuji follows with 10 blazing fireballs, briefly knocking the Sage down, but the foe rises again. Their duel intensifies, hellfire and decimation tearing through the battlefield. Yuji pushes himself to the brink, finally forcing the Sage to falter. His slimes cheer, believing the fight is won. Yet the Sage, still standing, lifts his hand toward the heavens, calling upon the great Lord. Dark curse energy bursts from the earth, spreading across the world and awakening machines that summon a reign of corruption. All around, monsters are driven into a violent frenzy, and Yuji realizes the situation has spiraled toward disaster. Meanwhile, Fasten and his band of adventurers clashed with the cursed monsters, but their strength faltered under the relentless assault, forcing them to retreat. Yuji stepped forward, channeling his magic to strike down the abominations, then turned to Stale with grave concern, explaining that the monsters had grown far more aggressive. The Sage then revealed to Yuji the truth of his past, that he had perished during his fateful battle with the Blue Dragon. That encounter had filled his soul with darkness and regret. No matter how many times the Blue Dragon was slain, the creature would return, sowing chaos in an endless cycle. Because of this, the Sage sought to end the world entirely, believing that only total annihilation could bring lasting liberation to all. Yuji listened, understanding the twisted logic, but his thoughts were cut short as the Sage struck without warning, unleashing hellfire and decimation. Yuji conjured a barrier, but it trembled under the force. The two exchanged devastating blows, their magic colliding in bursts of light and shadow that even Father Steel watched with alarm. The Sage urged Yuji to abandon his struggle, telling him that no single person could bear the weight of saving the world. Yuji glanced at his stats and saw his power waning fast, the truth pressing heavily upon him. Far away, Fasten, Gale, and other defenders prepared once more for battle. They remembered Yuji's past victories, recalling the times he had saved their towns. Across the land, News spread. Ricardo's people rallied. The chef promised a feast if they triumphed, and in Buganea, Gigal donned his armor with unwavering confidence. For the first time in a long while, Yuji realized he was not alone. Drawing strength from their faith, Yuji's allies pushed back the monstrous tide with renewed vigor. Yet, the true challenge remained: the sage. As the sun and moon aligned in the sky like a burning star, divine judgment began. Yuji drank a mana potion, crafted by dread, and faced the sage once more. The sage questioned why he would protect this world. Yuji admitted he had no reason, only the resolve to fight until the very end. They clashed again, each attack sharper and more desperate than the last. Yuji remembered one final skill: Divine Strike, the technique that had once felled the blue dragon. With precision, he struck again and again, forcing the sage to falter. The sage tried to retaliate, but Yuji trapped him within a barrier. It shattered under the sage's might, yet Yuji was ready. He invoked total isolation, stepping within striking range, and drove his dagger deep into the sage's chest. With a final flash, the sage's form dissolved into nothingness. Father Stale could only stare in astonishment. Later, Yuji walked into the Adventurers Guild, requesting a new quest. He mentioned slaying a tiger the previous night. The receptionist was startled, offering rewards for his entire party, only for Yuji to admit, with quiet sorrow, that he had no party left. They had all been killed. A young woman named Megia approached, intrigued. Inspecting the tiger's corpse, she found no wounds and asked if he used fire magic. Yuji replied simply, he was a tamer. Megia's eyes lit with recognition as she asked if he was the same man who had saved countless villages from the monster hordes. And so, the guild fell into silence, all eyes turning to the figure before them, the new sage, Yuji-sanu. And thus, the Adventurers Guild stood in quiet awe, every gaze fixed upon Yuji-sanu, the man who had faced darkness itself and emerged victorious. Outside, the winds whispered of storms yet to come, carrying the scent of rain and the promise of new trials on the horizon. But such is the nature of legend. One chapter ends and another waits to be told. Until that time comes, may the courage of these heroes echo in your own steps, and may the fire that guided them light your way forward. When the next story unfolds, it will be told once more by the voices of Animax Recapped.